I think we need to put this guy down on a possible mental problem list type of situation. That was my take on it, and it was one of our guys, Northeast Truth members, Jim, who runs a blog, that he was the first person to mention how much of a suspect Jim Burgermeister was, and she'd done nothing at all at the time to really trigger that, apart from some of the strange articles that were appearing on the site. So from our group, Jim deserves a bit of credit on that one. If you want to check his blog out, his blog's been going for a long time. Swine Avian Flu, the story so far.blogspot.com. So that's a long one, but check it out on the podcast if you need that one again. Swine Avian Flu, the story so far.blogspot.com. And incidentally, while we're giving Jim some praise, he's an excellent flat pack guy. So if anyone's got a bit of trouble with flat pack, get in touch with us at Northeast Truth. We'll send Jim round faster than lightning. Anyway, before we finish up, we've got that question about the 3 books, but is there anything else that anyone wants to relay to the audience or ask each other?
Get out there and do it.
Yeah, sure.
Absolutely. And come along on September the 11th.
Yeah, absolutely. That's Middlesbrough, so keep your eyes on, we'll advertise it on our site. Keep your eyes on your website as well, Ian Crane's website, and the information about that will be up. Now, 3 books before we finish up. 3 books I would recommend. I've got 4, but I'll give you 3 and then see if one of you pick the other one. The first book is The Zealotr. It's a book that we've almost touched on in terms of suffering. This book, just go to Amazon, type The Zealotr. It's a book by Mark Hetzel with an introduction and notes by David Overson, and it's a story of one man's search for initiation, where he followed the path known as the Way of the Fool, which is commonly signified by the Jester tarot card. It's a very, very, very good book about a certain man's path towards initiation. The other one is Manly P. Hall, Secret Teaching of All Ages. And to throw in a fiction book, I think Dan Brown's Lost Symbol, even though it's not obviously entirely factual, The Lost Symbol is a very, very good read. What have you guys got to share?
I suppose I'd say Propaganda by Edward Bernays, 1928. Great book. It's very cheap. A few pound people can get that. Nephew of Sigmund Freud. Second book would be Hey Whipley Squeeze This by Luke Sullivan, and it's a guide to marketing and advertising from someone inside the industry, and he gives such great examples on how to create ads and the theories behind them, and it's for good insight. And then the third one would be, I don't know, the book that the listener's going to write.
Yeah, that's it. Write your own book, get started, write an article. Ian?
I can't stop at 3. Okay. Here I go. The Economic Hitman by John Perkins.
Yeah.
An amazing insight into the machinations of the World Bank getting countries into debt.
Yeah.
And of course, it should be realized that one of the things that all of the countries that George Bush referred to as the axis of evil, one of the things they all had in common was that they are all free of debt from the World Bank.
That's too right.
The New Pearl Harbor, David Ray Griffin. I think that's the definitive book, and of course David Ray Griffin is a career professor of theology, and he was a skeptic about 9/11 until a couple of his students drew his attention to the events of 9/11. He started researching it for himself, and the New Pearl Harbor, which he published in 2004, I think is the definitive book for anybody that is still inclined to believe the official version of events. Okay. A little bit older, Zbigniew Brzezinski's Between Two Ages, which he published in 1970, wrote in 1969, because although the book's 40 years old, it is incredibly prescient. Sure. It is effectively the blueprint for everything that's occurring right now. So that would be my my main three, and then my second three would be Corporate Crime in the Pharmaceutical Industry by John Braithwaite, which he wrote it remarkably enough in 1984.
Yeah.
And then the other two are not books as such, but downloads.
Right.
One would be the N.E.T document, published in September of 2000, Rebuilding America's Defenses, because that is the updated version of Zbigniew Brzezinski's Between Two Ages.
Project for New American Century.
Yeah. You can download it from the website, pnac.com.
Yeah.
And then the last one would be the Report from Iron Mountain. Now, the Report from Iron Mountain was published in 1967. It's dismissed by many as a fraudulent document, yet Brzezinski's Between Two Ages was published 3 years after the Report from Iron Mountain was published, and there's a remarkable similarity between the two.
Yeah, for sure.
So those 6 documents, I would say, would give anybody starting to understand or appreciate the magnitude of what's occurring, it will start to give them an insight into the agenda.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
The other one, which I was thinking one of you may have chosen, was Behold a Pale Horse.
Yeah, Cooper.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, that's it. We're going to wrap this one up. We've gone over by an hour. Massive apologies to our listeners that we've gone on so long, but we had a lot to say, so sometimes it happens this way. Massive thanks to you, Ian and Anthony, for coming on and giving us your time at such short notice.
Thanks, Mike.
No problem. Thanks.
And check us out online, northeasttruth.com. Check out our previous 11 shows on the archive. Check out tnsradio.com. There's a lot of shows on there, and eventually they'll have our archive on there as well, with all of the other shows that they run every week. Tomorrow is open discussion night with Vinny from TNS. Thursday is the free show with Patrick. Fridays Irish Side of the Moon. Saturdays Walking Turtle. Sundays is Vinny's main show with a guest, and Mondays is Gary, Scottish Sovereign. Check him out at scottishsovereignsontheland.ning.com.
Cool.
Good night for all of our listeners. Same time next week with Any Joy. We've got Michael Tessarian coming up soon. I think he's in 2 weeks' time, but we'll get the information posted out on that one. Ian, remind our listeners of your website.
It's Ian R. Crane, IANRCRANE.co.uk.
And Anthony, your YouTube.
Who's Afraid of Reality? I'm not fancy enough to have a website yet.
Oh, well, that's cool. Excellent. All right, you two. Well, thanks a lot. And
bye-bye.
For our listeners, we're going to leave you